Do you ever go to squeeze out some lovely colour, watercolour, into your palette, and instead of what you were expecting, you just get a puddle of sort of clear, gungy ectoplasm? Stop, don't panic, it's not a problem. You can sort it, and I'm here to tell you why it's happened and what it is and what to do about it. My name's Liz Chadderton. I'm a professional watercolour artist based in Berkshire, and every week I share a tip, trick or technique that I wish someone had told me when I started painting. And this week it's all about what to do when your watercolour separates. Have you ever opened up a tube of paint, gone to squeeze it into your palette? You get this puddle of sort of browny gunge. Someone described it to me as watercolour diarrhoea. Not a nice description, but rather accurate. Don't keep squeezing the tube out in the hope of getting to the paint, because all this is the gum arabic. So watercolour is gum arabic mixed with pigment. If you keep squeezing it out, you alter the proportions and your paint will be more likely to harden in the tube. There are a couple of reasons why it might happen. One, it could be poor manufacturing, that the manufacturer just hasn't milled all the pigments fine enough. But it could also be simply that the pigment has big particles just by its very nature, and they sink in the tube, and especially if the tube's been exposed to really hot and cold conditions and maybe left for a while, it separates out and you get this puddle, a bit like you do in peanut butter. So what you need to do is get a paper clip. Open out the clip, so you've got a nice long strong piece of wire. Take off your lid and carefully put the paper clip inside. Now some might come out depending how full your tube is, but just go careful. You need to mix, just gently mix around and up and down to remix all that paint and gum arabic back together again. You don't want to puncture your tube, so don't be too rough, because then you'd be in a whole pile of problems. I can feel down the bottom that this is really thick and pulling at the paper clip, whereas the top is more liquid, so it really has separated. But this is one of my students' paints that I use on workshops, and of course with COVID I've not been able to run workshops for most of the year, so it's been sitting for a year, and I know that cerulean blue tends to separate. It's just its nature. There's nothing wrong with the paint, it's just the pigment. Some people like to massage the tube, say put the lid on and give it a good squidge. I don't find that mixes the paint back in well enough, so I much prefer the paperclip method. So once you've mixed it really thoroughly, it'll probably take you 5-10 minutes. Do take out your paperclip, don't waste that. You'll probably need to wipe the neck of the tube, because if you leave all that paint on there, you're going to end up with other problems like your lid sticking, and then put your lid back on firmly and you should be fine. If the problem reoccurs, you've got a particular colour, this always happens to, just store it on its lid, because then all the gum arabic will rise, and when you come to use it you'll have decent colour down at the bottom, just like you would do with a peanut butter jar. All the oil would rise. If you store it on its lid, turn it the other way up, and you've got your peanut butter. So over the next few weeks I'll share some other tips about getting the most out of your paints, whether it be about stuck lids, what to do when you get to the end of a tube, what happens if it hardens in the tube. So do keep popping back, and there'll be more tips that I really do wish someone had told me when I started painting. Thanks for watching.